So welcome to today's webinar on getting the most from your tech stack. I'm really thrilled to be joined today by Jackson Brigg of FuseWorks. Now, Jackson has many years of experience in the accounting technology industry. He's really passionate about helping firms enhance the efficiency and performance of their processes through automation. So if you're thinking that you might have some bottlenecks, he can obviously suggest some ideas to help optimize the processes, and obviously the impact will be felt hopefully on the bottom line. So Jackson, without further ado, I'll hand over to you and just let me know when we want to run those polls, and I'll keep you updated as we go through.
Beautiful, Charles. Thank you so much. And thanks for BOMA for having us on this session. It's an absolute pleasure. And this comes off the back of a really great session that we held at an event in Auckland, actually late last year, which is all around adopting tech, change management, and getting the most out of your tech stack. So we're really excited to be able to replicate that for the UK and for the AU audience this week. It's been really exciting. First and foremost, what we're going to do, and Charles will run that first poll, which is firstly just getting an understanding around how many of you have reviewed your tech stack more recently. So whether it's in the last year, last couple of years, it's great to get a sense of how often firms are doing this, because we would love to do it probably more regularly than we do, but this might have come at a really good opportune time to circle back and to look at that. Charles, just while that's running, I'll jump into the next one and we'll circle back on that one. But for those of you who don't know us yet, our company FuseWorks has been born to develop smart software for the accounting industry. And our mission is really straightforward, and that's really to equip the accounting space with smart tools and software to enhance that efficiency, save time, but really we're big on that team and client experience. So how do we really enhance that? And it's about what qualifies us to champion that mission. And our story starts with first-hand experience. So well over a decade ago, FuseWorks emerged from our founders own a chartered accounting practice based here in Brisbane in Australia. So Melissa Voss, co-founder and chartered accountant, alongside Scott Barber, our head of product, have well over 4 decades of experience working really closely intertwined within the accounting space. So throughout that journey, we faced all the similar types of disruptions, particularly when it comes to that ever-evolving landscape of technology that we're all very across nowadays and hearing and seeing so much about. So we really do understand a lot of the challenges that the industry faces, both from the positive and the negative lens of that. One of our biggest frustrations was when we encountered a real lack of viable digital signing platforms or electronic signing platforms available to us in the accounting space, which was shocking considering the sheer requirement that we have around document signing. So we went through a massive exploration phase, looking at all the options with the major global providers, the ones that you would all know, but we won't name. And honestly, we found them all very lacking. So much so that we actually went down the path ourselves to develop our own solution. And that was really driven by wanting to deliver the industry something that was cost effective, that had local support, offered features and functionality that we actually want to use or need to use, and more importantly, having more seamless integrations with existing software that was also floating around the industry by leading providers. So led with that belief, we press forward. Today, FuseSign, our electronic signing platform, is a testament to that hard work, and we support well over 1,500 accounting firms across Australia and UK, and for good reason. For myself personally, as Charles mentioned, I've been working in and around the accounting space for almost 10 years now. So I've worked with some of the leading cybersecurity and managed IT providers for the accounting space, along with cloud integrators like FGS, not FGS, but similar of those who might know in the UK. And so my passion for this has grown immensely over that time. And I love working with firms to be able to improve that process, adopt tech properly, and have a great experience adopting tech, because whether we like it or not, it is a part of the nature of the beast and business. At some point, we do need to grow and evolve when it comes to looking at our tech, and we like to make that an enjoyable experience. Charles, did we get a couple of results from that
yeah, we did.
Poll there? Yep.
Yeah, and a slight, we didn't have so many people answering today, but 67% said that they had reviewed it in the last, all right, sorry, 75%, it's just gone up just as I was answering. So 75% have reviewed it in the last year, 25% in the last 1 to 3 years.
Magic. That's better than our other response today, Charles. So that's great. It's great to see that firms are putting this front of mind. The UK industry is also spoilt with so many great events. It's hard to not get along to those and speak to the app vendors. So let's have a look, I guess, at how we can then look to improve that process when we're actually adopting that tech after we review. Let's jump in. Just before we do jump into more of that sort of top 5 of what I suggest is some of the things that firms are doing really well in this space, I think it's important that we also acknowledge how much change that we've seen in the industry, particularly over the last sort of 5 or 10 years. As technology evolves, I believe that we must also look at the way that we adopt and integrate tech into our practice, because that's evolving as well. So since we know that the cloud technology piece has taken off, and I'm certainly not going to sell you on cloud technology, we have seen a significant shift. So firms are no longer adopting legacy or server-based apps at the same pace as they are now with cloud solutions. So gone are the days where we feel like we're more so locked in with a single provider that delivers all of our software needs, where that real challenge was there, kind of deciding which features were most important to us while dealing with, I guess, some of those shortcomings with other parts of the platforms, and really just working out what fits best for us. Cloud technology has transformed that landscape because it's given us option, which we all know can be a blessing and a curse. We love having choice, but too much choice can also feel quite overwhelming. So now more than ever, you have that flexibility to choose from multiple providers, and you're able to really build that integrated app stack that you find best fits the needs of your firm and of your team and of your clients. But with that flexibility comes the new challenge of implementation. So as cloud technology evolves, so does the process of adopting it, like we mentioned. And truth be told, we are still refining this as an industry and working out ways to do this better. Myself being deeply involved in the software space, I can tell you that us as providers are constantly working together to find more ways to be able to create that seamless experience for firms adopting multiple solutions and managing them ongoing. But although we've made huge strides in that space, it's also fair to say that we can't solve everything. So this is where that structure and process for you internally becomes quite crucial. Having the right framework in place means that we can ensure that we're getting the most out of that and allow you to fully embrace all the value that you can get from using cloud tech without the overwhelm. And where we end up is in a position where we have a beautifully fully integrated tech stack, which allows for a lot of those efficiency gains that we've been sold on by moving to the cloud, while still offering your clients a really seamless experience in the process. So the question is the juice worth the squeeze? I think yes. And what I want to do today is send you away with what I would consider the top 5 tips that I've learned working with thousands of accounting firms across Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. And the ones that I think do this the best, this is really the 5 that I've taken away and that I look to use whenever I'm working with businesses now to adopt, change, evolve, and improve. What I want to do is start getting your brain ticking here as well about what your top 5 or your key internal processes are with this as well. So if you had a friend or a colleague that said, hey, I'm just starting my business, I'm looking at all this tech, what's the best way to go about it? Or, we're looking to do a bit of a revamp with our tech, but I'm not sure where to start. What were the 5 tips that you would give your colleagues or friends when they're looking at any of this sort of change management? I've listed a few here, some prompters. They can certainly fit outside of this, and there are certainly ones that are better than others. Sadly, I have heard all of these from firms. Hope for the best was certainly a favorite of mine, and they were legitimate about that. But remember, it can be anything that resonates with you, so don't restrict yourself. And Charles, again, I think we have a poll there with just a couple of these listed. I always love to see if there's like a top one. And I was very surprised by our session earlier with what that top one was. So I'm excited to see where we end up, if you're happy with that, Charles.
Yep, just launching now.
Beautiful.
Yep, can everyone see that?
Awesome. And Charles, we spoke today and I loved yours. Do you mind revamping whenever you're looking at any change in your business? Because of course, adopting technology is not singular in terms of the industry that it impacts. We did a massive tech change last year and some new processes, which we did kicking and screaming for some. How do you go about some of that tech change in your business?
Yeah, well, we had a similar one ourselves, and it started about 2 or 3 years ago. I was wanting to implement a revamp of our sort of sales and marketing CRM, and it took me, I would say, 2 years to convince the engineering teams and the sort of the CEO that this would be a good idea. And once we eventually did, I was obviously the project champion. but we also engaged an external consultant alongside the software provider, because as you know, best will in the world, the software provider, once they've done the sale, can sometimes be a little bit less interested in sort of making sure that it does exactly everything that you for your business needs. So we found that external consultant was really, really the key thing. Luckily, we do have our own engineers within BOMA, so there were a few things that luckily, when I had convinced, as you say, those late holdouts that this was going to be the right shift, and we sort of got them on board, and thank goodness, because even the external consultant was baffled by some of our internal processes. So having that sort of internal knowledge was really helpful.
Yeah, I think that's massive. And you as that key champion as the driver, I think, like, we'll talk about it a bit more shortly, but that's a massive one for me. All my best successes with firms are ones that have someone dedicated to that process, and knowing kind of where your limitations are and knowing when to get someone external in to be able to support with that, I think is really important as well. So that's really interesting.
And ideally, it helps if that person is relatively senior, so they can sort of have those nutty conversations if they need, at that level.
Which is almost always at some degree. Yeah. Love it. And how do we go with those poll responses? Was there any that stuck out to you there, Charles?
I'm just seeing what they've come up with. So look, actually, it was pretty similar to the Australian New Zealand one. What I am surprised at is that quite a high level of people assuming that the software provider will do everything for them.
Okay.
So the one we ran there earlier in the day, it was pretty much split between project champion, external consultant, and there were a few people who chose other, and then sort of put in the chat that they, also wanted, a lot of training and sort of a few other elements.
Interesting. So assuming the software provider will do everything, interesting. We'll jump into that a little bit more, because no two businesses are born the same way, I suppose. Some certainly do it better than others, but we'll get into how you can make sure you manage that properly. So I'm glad we ran that, because that's really interesting. Well, why don't now we jump into that top 5 and we'll speak a little bit more to that. And again, when I'm going through these top 5, these are my top 5. These are what I find work really well. You know your business a lot better than anyone else does. So take a little bit with a grain of salt. Remember the ones that you have that are important to you as well. It's not about replacing, it's just about adding to your repertoire here. So first and foremost, I think before we do anything else, we need to have a good plan in place as to what we're trying to achieve and how we're going to achieve it. So with all the rapid change that we are seeing in this industry, with all the innovation, the progress being made with new features, new functionality, new workflow, and the rest, it becomes really hard to keep up. So now more than ever, I think it's really important to sit down and assess what you're looking to do, what piece of tech or workflow you're looking to improve, and create a plan around it. So some of the questions we want to ask first and foremost are, what problems are we actually trying to solve here? What internal process improvements can we make to help with this? So before we throw product at it or we throw tech at it, can we take a step back, look at our workflow, look at our process, and see if there are a bottleneck with the human side of that process? If no, then we move on to saying, okay, well, let's look at software. But first and foremost, can any of our existing software providers support this? Again, with the way that we're evolving and changing and growing, it's really important to know that what we are bringing out now and what we bring out in 6 months' time, it's evolving all the time. So what you don't want to get to the point of is going and plugging a new piece of software in just to realize that an existing provider is bringing out a similar improvement or enhancement or functionality 6 months or 12 months later. And that happens quite often. So having a chat to your current providers around where you think this problem would be solved, and if they're doing anything or have done anything around solving that problem already. If the answer is still no, then it's about what's available into market to be able to help explore and see what options we have. Assuming that's the avenue you've gone down, and you've gone through the exploration process and found a solution that you think is going to work, then you need to start asking around, okay, well, when is the best time to implement this change? And we're all going to sit here and say there is no great time, which is 100% correct, but we need to make time. And that's easier said than done. We love a rollout into the brand new financial year when things tick over, but we can't always wait that 8, 10, 12 months to be able to do that. So carving out some time and having someone dedicated to that to be able to influence that change is really essential. Then it's looking at who's just going to be impacted by. So this is our clients, our team. Is there any downtime for our team that they need to be aware of? What training do we have on? When's the cutover? And is our client experience changing at all? And do we need to get some comms out to them to let them know that they're going to expect some change? Then the most important question is who's going to lead this? So having that person internally, which we're going to speak to more shortly, to be able to really drive this with the support of the higher ups in the business as well, which leads into, what support are they going to need? So this is where we need to really understand where the software provider stops and starts. So no two software providers are built the same way. Do not put all your faith into a provider, especially someone like me in sales, who's going to say, this is the best thing you're ever going to do, is going to solve all your problems. And they're very quick to respond when they're looking for that cash, but then can sometimes whittle off a little bit once that deal is done. So it's really important to have a really clear idea of what support you can expect from the software provider, and just knowing where that gap is so that you can fill it with an internal resource, or if the project's big enough, like what Charles was doing the last couple of years, having someone external come in to support that as well. If you don't know FGS Advisory, they are UK, a really great business that helps firms implement new tech, manage change, and all the rest, and pretty much everything we're speaking about today. So if you do need that extra help, it's certainly there and available for you. But before anything else, have a really clear plan around what you're looking to do and who needs to be involved and at what time. Number two, and we've spoken about this, is it's really important to have someone driving this change in your business. So more commonly, and we're starting to see this quite a lot, is the roles popping up like systems and process manager or business improvement manager, head of innovation. These roles within an accounting firm whose job it is to solely look at how they can be getting more out of what they already have and identifying those rooms for improvement. And that's not to say we need to go out and hire for that role. We're not always able to have that sort of function internally. But what it does tell us is that there is becoming much more of a need to have someone internally responsible for overseeing the short-term and the long-term success of having that tech in your business. Typically, this automatically falls on an office manager, practice manager, or maybe a tech-driven director or partner in the business. And that's typically because they feel they should, or they've always done it before. And yes, these people are absolutely key to the success in making any shifts in your business, but they don't always need to be the ones driving it, especially if they don't have an interest in it. I can tell you from personal experience, some of the best and worst implementations I've done are with people who either love what they're doing or they're hating what they're doing. Some of the best success I've had is with a junior accountant or an admin team member that has only more recently started the business that loves tech, and so they were so keen to get in and to make it successful, rather than a partner who's incredibly busy, doesn't have the time, and doesn't have much interest in doing it to begin with. So don't feel like we need to segment that to someone in particular. Again, they're key piece there to support whoever is doing this, but making sure that we've got the right person in the seat. Now, regardless of who drives that function, what is important is that you go to bat for them. Support them and help them align with the broader team, using some of that positive communication about the change. So why you're making the shift, what they're going to do and what they're going to gain from it, and how it's going to directly impact their day-to-day, plus what they're going to be able to spend their time doing that doesn't involve maybe some of the mundane or repetitive tasks that they might be doing today. So it is important that you bring the team along for the journey. Don't just throw it in their face. Bring them in and help them see the level of impact it's going to have on them. And that's not to say that we need too many cooks in the kitchen or we need to be overwhelmed with opinion. It's just bringing them along for that journey. The second piece, and we mentioned there, which is the short-term and long-term aspects to this, and the requirement to periodically check in to ensure that the automations, the integrations, and everything that you're using and doing is working as you intended that they should. So coming back to that and making sure that it's not kind of a set and forget. So don't just implement change and then walk away and assume it'll be fine. We as humans are creatures of habit, and we will fall back into those old habits if you allow us. So I suggest having, 3-month, 6-month check-in with your team to address any of the changes and make sure that there are no outstanding issues or frustrations they might be having. Importantly, be sure to really allow that to be someone's priority, which is often missed. It's easy for them to prioritize it if they're genuinely interested in it. So going back to that point before, having the right person in the seat allows this to happen. But it's really making sure that they also have the capacity alongside their day-to-day responsibilities, or instead of parts of their day-to-day, even if it's for that short period. We can't allow someone to add something on top of their already full capacity and expect that nothing's going to suffer. Something's going to suffer, it's just a matter of what. And so it's allowing that to not fall apart along the way. And the final piece there is celebrating the wins with them along the way. And for some of the firms who are doing quite large tech reviews and changes and implementing a few different bits and pieces, it's really easy to get stuck in the detail and not recognize the wins. So if you do notice that the team is taking less time to complete a task, if a client's come back with some positive feedback around the team's responsiveness or an experience they've had with some new tech, make sure you feed that back to the team because it helps show that, yes, we're making these changes. Yes, it's not a huge amount of fun, but look at the outcome. Number 3 is all about being open to evolving, adopting and adapting. So our industry has taught us that while every business has its own unique identity, the process of evolving and adapting isn't a singular journey. So whether you are in more of the early stages of the business or you're more established, taking that next leap, the challenges that you face in adopting new tech and refining some of your processes have likely already been experienced and solved by others in the space. So while your business might seem uniquely challenged, the truth is that it probably isn't. So be, embracing an open mindset to that evolution, and having some new processes and leveraging from experiences from others is going to get you a lot further ahead, which means that you can spend your time with that unique factor of what your business brings and leveraging from your community to not fall into the same pits that they may have already. So joining webinar sessions like this to see what your peers are doing. Again, we are absolutely spoilt in this industry when it comes to educational webinars and industry and networking events, user groups, and the rest, where this largely built up to host these sort of conversations everywhere. So, looking online, keeping on social with your providers, because chances are they're the ones hosting them or putting them together or attending, is always a great way to find where people are hanging out. So never assume that your way and the way that you're being challenged is unique, because the likelihood that there have been other people going through that with you, and they can certainly help you out. Number 4 is all around imperfect data, a little bit of a controversial one, but one of the most common reasons that we find firms tend to hesitate around adopting new software or integrating apps, even when the decision's been made internally and the value is very clear, is concerns around the data cleanliness. The reality is your data will never be perfect, so don't let progress be stalled by a 6-12 month data cleansing project that some poor team member on your team has drawn the short straw to take on. My advice would be to be open and honest with your providers around where you're moving and where you're looking to integrate about the current state of your data. Let them assess and support you to let you know whether they believe it's an issue. Fortunately for us as providers as well, we have a lot more tools at our disposal now than we did to be able to support with this as well, and we can do some data cleanup upon migrations. So it's typically not a showstopper. In the situations where there is a major cleanup required, there are, again, great businesses like FGS. I might as well be working for FGS at this point, that will help and support that. So again, not only the tech changes, but also helping with some of that data cleanup as well. So there is support there if you need it. Of course, there is cost associated with that, but it's going to save you a huge amount in pain, time, and resources. So that's a huge piece for that. So don't let the data stop you from moving forward. Get advice, make sure it's actually a problem before we assume it is. And number 5 is all around testing, training, and evolving, of course. So now that we have those foundations in place, that we need to successfully adopt that in our firm, it's important that we make sure that we've got that long-term success guideline set up as well. And the way we do this is by treating technology like a team member. So they need to be given that time and attention they need to grow, as does our tech. Thankfully, with where we're at, it's a lot more simple than what it used to be. But work with your team to solidify what that long-term plan looks like. So referring back to point 2, having a project champion to have them managing the project initially is great. But what are their KPIs around ensuring that they've got that long-term success in mind as well? And the question is, do they even have any KPIs around what that looks like? At what point are they checking in with the team, checking in with their providers, and ensuring that everything is working as they intended it to? And we haven't had people falling back into old habits. Us as providers as well, again, are always happy to provide additional training where you need it. For the most part, I can't speak for everyone, but it's certainly very common in our space. So make sure you reach out and get that. Again, it's important as well that we ensure that the team have that capacity to support that ongoing as well. We can't just set and forget. But of course, that then naturally allows us to evolve. So, don't allow yourself to get perfectly comfortable. If you create a bit of a space in the business that allows others to provide that feedback on how they're finding the change, you're going to spot room for improvement quite often because it's a common conversation and it's not hidden behind closed doors, or people don't really know where to go to provide that feedback. And what they end up doing is maybe just complaining about it in the background, which isn't ideal. So having an open forum where people can provide that feedback, I think, is a crucial part to that evolution continuing on with that. So back on that top 5, it's have a plan. So plan to change, assign a project champion, out with the old, in with the new. So leveraging your community to spot any room for opportunity and not going down the same rabbit holes they may have already. Knowing that imperfect data is okay and continuing on with that testing, training, and the evolution of that tech. So what I want to do in terms of wrapping up this session as well is to give you a bit of an example of what that looks like. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the session, we wanted to kind of just show you through one of the more common automations that we helped clients adopt when it comes to FuseSign and FYI. So a quick recap. FuseSign is our electronic signing platform, which allows you to host documents to be able to send out for signing. It gives your clients a really nice, seamless signing experience. And the integration we offer with FYI, which is an accounting-focused document management solution, where you can host all of your documents. They provide a ton of automations that can be set up and run through. And we have a great little integration between the two platforms, which allows us to send out documents for signing using that integration with FYI and FuseSign, give your clients that seamless experience. And once everything has been finalized and signed off, it knows to automatically file those documents back into the system under the client group, which is one of my favorite ones that we offer. So I thought I'd give you a quick run through of what that looks like today, just to let you know, I guess, where a lot of these firms are ending up. So I'll bring up my screen here now. And this is my FYI environment, as we will see. So again, if you haven't checked out FYI, go and check them out. They are a great app for document management. They are absolutely massive in Australia, New Zealand, and they are making huge strides in the UK in the last few years. So good friends of ours there. So what this allows our firms to do is to come into FYI, select the documents that we're wanting to send out to our client for signing. And I'm currently just under my client group here. And we've got an option to come through and send this out for signature. This has a great integration across your existing practice management solutions as well. So your XPM, your Iris, your CCH, FYI offers quite a few. And that way we're able to leverage that client data that you've already got sitting there, or that single source of truth that we're wanting to pull through. You can do a lot of things like having your email template sitting in here as well. So if we know the types of documents we're sending out for signing, we don't need to worry about the team going through and drafting an email every single time. We can just pull through a template that we've created earlier. Once we click create, that's going to tell FuseSign that we have a draft bundle of documents ready to go. And it's going to launch my screen here to be able to load that bundle and send it out for signing. So this is our FuseSign environment, and keep in mind as well, FuseSign is a standalone platform. You don't need to have the beautiful other integrations in and around it. If you're simply wanting to use a platform to be able to upload documents and send them out for signing, you've got full ability to do that with FuseSign. So this is where we are here. And with that integration, what we've done is brought in that email template that we've asked it to do. We can do a bunch of other things here, like setting an automatic due date, which means the system then knows to send automatic reminders out in and around that due date that we've set. So if the team are currently manually chasing clients up for documents that are still outstanding, with FuseSign, it's kind of a set and forget. Set it up once, let the system do its thing, and they'll send out the reminders for us. And then when we come down, we've got our documents and our recipient here that we pulled through. Now we'll make this slightly larger as well and just bring in to show a bit more of that functionality off, and I'll just bring this back to 0 as well. So again, we can still leverage those integrations with our contact database to pull through any existing contacts that we have, and we'll make a bit of a group here. So one of our great feature sets with FuseSign is giving you the ability to nominate here who is able to view, sign, and most importantly, not view each document within a pack. So when we do have more complexity and we're sending out quite a few different things, we've got the ability to send everything in one bundle, which is why we call it that, while still making sure we have privacy across the different recipients in this group. So for this cover letter, we might say it's a view-only document, and we maybe have only included Kai in here to view and sign his tax return. So anything else he's left to none on means that he doesn't then see that document as a part of his pack. So a lot of flexibility around that privacy, and we can switch however we need to set that up. The final step here is nominating who needs to sign where. So we can come into our placeholder templates and we can go through and we can set that up. So we make this really flexible for firms as well, depending on what we need from the end signer or the client, depends on what we want to bring through. So for this one, we might just keep it simple and say, well, we need a signature and we need a date to populate here. And for Amelia, we might need something quite similar. And then we move into our next document. But there's a lot of things we can do here as well, like setting up templates, placeholders. So for a lot of those recurring documents, we can set it up once, save it as a template, and the next time we come through, we're just reapplying those same templates that we've set up prior. Again, that's a great way to make sure that the team aren't missing any fields that need to be filled out, and we have everything in here that we need. So even things like a text box if we need one of our recipients to fill out some more detail. And then we're done and we're ready to send it away. The final piece here, which is a nice handy little additional feature, is the ability to nominate who might need to have a second step of authentication. So if we are sending quite particularly sensitive documents and we want that extra security on the front end, we have the option here to come through per recipient and decide how we would like to do that. So whether it's via SMS, whether it's via email, or for myself, we might want to keep it really simple and simply go through, click on the link, sign the documents and get out. But the other great way that we can also then use the mobile data if we have it there, and something that a lot of our UK clients use, is the ability to send an SMS notification. So this is a great client experience if you're wanting to just get the documents out, sign and returned. We can not only notify the client via an email, but we can also notify via an SMS, which is a great one. When we send it away, we get a quick preview of who is viewing and signing which documents. All the branding, colors, logos, everything is customized to your firm as well. So it very much looks and feels like it's coming from you and not from a third party where we can help it. And then we send that away. So most importantly, we want to have a look at what that client sign-in experience looks like. But FuseSign as well has a great built-in active and completed dashboard, which shows us everything that we currently have out for signing across all of our team members here as well. So we're not having to share logins or details or anything like that. We don't charge based on users. It's across everything. So that way, if I'm away, my team can jump in and catch up on where I'm at and jump in on anything they might need to. And it's all color coded to the stage that that recipient's sitting in. So whether they've signed, whether they haven't, whether they've viewed the documents but haven't signed, we get full visibility across the pack. So most importantly, as we mentioned, the client signing experience, it's all good and well having some new tech internally, but whenever it impacts the client, it's really important that we make this as seamless as possible. So a lot of our clients are coming across from never touching digital signing before or from existing tools. So we want to try to keep this change management minimal for the client. So when they come through, they get the email and they have a big button down the bottom that tells them that there are some documents to sign. So they click on that. That'll bring them into a window to be able to start signing their documents, again, using all your great branding through here as well. And then we can get started. So when we come into our documents, this first document was only for me to view. So we try to make it quite hard for clients to get lost at this point. The only option they have is to click next. When they come into those actual signing documents that we've given them, they now have the option to sign or reject. So again, pretty hard to get lost. And if we are happy to sign, we can come through, draw our signature, or simply type and populate that signature automatically. And this last document, again, more for Kyan, so just for me to view and run my eyes over, and then I'm complete. So once the client's done, they can jump out. Again, there's no account set up, there's no username or password. It's absolutely seamless for them to jump in, sign their documents, and get out. But the star of the show and what we really want to show you is then that beautiful automation that ties it back into FYI. So if we refresh our screen here, we're already automatically notifying the clients with their signed documents. Everything like that is done in the background. I'm not going to go through all the nitty gritty, of course. We'll have a poll at the end if you'd like to see more. Our UK team are happy to reach out and to give you more of a personalized run through of the platform. But what we really want to see is once we complete this bundle, it moves into completed. So we know from our perspective, everything is done. And instead of that process of manually coming through, downloading the documents and filing them away, we know that we've got those documents coming back into FYI directly. So we'll just see how quick that sync is today. And we can see it's very quick. So this is that document that I sent out originally, signed and returned. And a beautiful thing that FYI does is it staples on those original documents that we sent out, so the unsigned copies with the signed copy that FuseSign has pushed back into the system for us. If we give that a quick preview, we can see my signature, today's date, and then the digital certificate and audit trail across everything that happened in that pack. So again, a bit of an example of one of many of the integrations and great automations that you can get when you're leveraging that cloud technology in the right way. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a taster. And I think there as well, Charles, will have a poll right for the end here. If there's anyone that's keen to find out a bit more, we're happy to reach out and to show you that.
Yeah, thanks, Jackson. And I'll just launch that now. It'll let me. Cool. So if you've got any questions that you feel like asking Jackson right now, you can just submit them into the chat. Equally, if you do answer the poll that yes, you'd like to get in touch, then they can be in touch directly. A comment, great advice, Jackson. Platform run-throughs and automations are spot on. So some
Awesome.
nice feedback there.
Love it.
Yeah, so we'll just stay on another 30 seconds. Any other questions that you feel like asking? And Jackson, you said that you get off to the UK in May, actually.
Yes, yeah. So our team are gearing up to be at quite a few of the events. So UK, as we know, have this really like tight block of event seasons. So we've got the Digital Accountancy Show. I'm going to be over for Accountex. We've also got Fab, I think we're going to as well. So we're going to be at a huge amount of different events this year. So if you are going along, look out for John Oakley, who some of you may know already. He is out and about at all these sort of events, repping FuseSign. So if you're keen to have a chat at any of the events and you're going, we'd love to see you. I think alternative events we're going to be at as well. So there's a huge range that we're going to be around at. So yeah, absolutely.
And one question's just come in, which I'll just read out to you. We're currently using Dex for document management. What edge does FYI have over Dex that we can think about replacing Dex with FYI?
Yeah, look, I won't go and sell FYI. I'm not as familiar with the current document management solution. I would highly suggest going and speaking to the team at FYI, though. They're going to attend really similar events to what we are if you're going to be at any. But where FYI typically really stand out is the inbuilt level of automations that they offer. So to give you a really quick example, and FYI need to start sending me some commissions for this sort of thing. But another really common one, so there's a ton of automations that are built into the platform to automate a lot of the repetitive tasks that you'd have in your day-to-day in relation to clients, in relation to the documents that we're storing, you know, communications and a bunch of things like that, tasks, workflows, jobs, heaps of things. One of the really common ones that we get, and it's really simple, but just to give you a taster. So what happens based on things like the workflow, when we send documents out for signing, that's going to sit in a pending signature state. When it comes back and it automatically files back, that workflow then updates, as we can see there, to client signed. So that can tell FYI to automatically create a task for Jackson or for Charles to then go through and prepare to lodge those documents. So where they normally edge above all else is that they've got a really large range of integrations across the industry, and they've got amazing automations in their library, which don't require you to manually set them up. You quite literally can like cut and paste them over from other firms that have created them in before to be able to leverage a lot of those automations. So again, in Australia and New Zealand, they are by far the leading document management solution. They kick butt. So if you haven't looked at FYI, I would highly suggest you do. But if you buy FYI, you also have to buy FuseSign. That's my criteria. So must do that. Cool. Hopefully that answers that okay.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jackson. I think that was really comprehensive.
Awesome.
So, team, I think you just got a reply. He said thanks. So I think we'll leave it there. Jackson, thanks so much for staying up late and joining us. And everyone, thank you so much for giving up your time this morning to come and join us.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having us, and thank you, BOMA. Again, we absolutely love what you guys do, and we hear so much great feedback from our UK clients working with you guys. So thanks for having us, and we'll be around a lot more.
Fantastic. See you next time, everyone.
Thanks, team. Bye.